Hi, students. Today, our learning objective is I can paraphrase a text. I'm going to introduce you to another co-teacher of me and Miss Reinheimer. Her name is Miss Smeckens. She's going to be teaching you how to paraphrase a text. At the end of the video, there will be an exit ticket for you to do and then Zoom with your teacher. We'll see you at the Zoom after you do today's exit ticket.
Hello, this is Mrs. Smeckens. Okay, let's pretend. Let's pretend that this is a text I read. Something I read, it's the original text, some author wrote it, and I read it, okay? And then all of a sudden I needed to write a report or a persuasive letter or an essay, and I wanted to use some of the author's ideas in my writing. I wanted to retell some of the author's ideas in my writing. Now, you could use quotation marks. You could take ideas from the author, put it in your own writing, and put quotation marks around it, right? Yeah, that's one way that you can, give information from another source. Okay, but there are other ways, and I want to talk about one of them in this lesson. I want to introduce you to the word paraphrase. Now, you might have heard of this before. Okay, we're going to talk about paraphrasing, but say the word. Say paraphrase. Good. So paraphrasing is nothing more than retelling what the author said. You're going to retell it in your own writing. You're going to retell what the author said. The original here, that's what the author said. And so a paraphrase is a retelling. Yeah. Okay. So when you retell something that the author said, we want to really be careful that we say the same information, that we're correct, accurate, that we don't leave anything out, that we don't say anything wrong, okay? But we also want to put it in our own words. So this can kind of be like, how do you do that? Okay, so I want to give you some tips, and then I want to give you some steps, okay? And let's start with this. When you look at the original author text and what I'm going to paraphrase, what do you notice about the paraphrase in terms of length? Is this longer? Is this shorter than the original? About the same? Yeah. It's about the same. That's important. Sometimes when we paraphrase or we think we're paraphrasing, and what we're doing is taking this big paragraph, this big idea from the author, and then we just say it in a sentence. Okay, that is not a very good paraphrase. A paraphrase should be about the same length as the original text. So if you took something this big, then it should take about the same length for you to say it in your retelling, in your paraphrase. Because if you don't use about the same length, then you're leaving probably some key information out, some facts, some details. Okay, now, the hard part is if you paraphrase, you can't take the words exactly from the author and put it in your writing, because that's not a paraphrase. So how do I make it about the same length, Mrs. Smeckens, and put it in my own writing? If I'm retelling his ideas and I have to use about the same number of words, how do I do it without using the same as the author's words? Okay, remember, our thinking voice is going to help us with this after reading skill, because you don't paraphrase, you don't retell until you first read, right? Okay, our thinking voice is going to be huge for this. All right, so one of the secrets to paraphrasing is that idea that you have to put it in your own words. Have you heard that before? Yeah. What does that mean? Really, what does it mean? I'll tell you. It means you're going to say the same thing the author did, but you're going to use different words. You're going to use synonyms. Yeah. You're going to say the same idea, but you're going to use different words. Synonyms. You know why? Because that's your writing. And it's you. Oh, you're going to use the author's idea and you're going to say, I got this from this author. We'll cite it. That's another lesson. I just want to work on how are you going to take his idea and put it in here. You're going to make it about the same length, but you've got to make it sound like you, not the author. And so you do that by using synonyms, your own words. Don't talk like the author. Talk like you. That's what a paraphrase is. That's how you retell in your own words. The secret is synonyms. Okay, so now I want to teach you 5 steps. 5 steps to a paraphrase. And I'm going to teach them kind of quickly, but I'm going to teach them with hand signals. And then we'll slow down and you'll see me try it. Okay, so let's get your hands ready. Let's do the hand signals. Okay, paraphrase has 5 steps. Step 1, read. Step 2, remove. Okay, do that again. When you remove, drop the other hand. Remove. Good. Okay, then turn your hand that's up here, turn it into like a talking hand. You're going to explain what you just read. Let's do those first 3. When you paraphrase, first you have to read, then you have to remove the text, stop looking at it. Then you have to say what you just read. Then, same hand, turn it into your pencil. Write or type what you just said. Okay, let's do those first 4. There's 5, but let's do those 4. Ready? Okay, I'm going to read what the author said. Then I'm going to remove and stop looking at what the author said. And I'm going to tell myself with my thinking voice what I just read. And then I'm going to write it in my own words with my own synonyms. Good. Now you ready for step 5? Okay, remember you removed it? It was way over here, okay, and you just wrote it. Now you have to return to the text. So kind of do a swoop and come back to read. And the last time you do this, it actually means return to the text. Why? Because you just typed it or wrote it. Did you spell their name right? Did you get the date right? Did you have the correct fact? Because sometimes when you're reading and you remove and you're thinking, and then you go to write, you're working so hard to just remember the ideas and the details and all of that you're like, does his last name have 2 T's or 1? Don't worry about it yet. Just get your idea. Write it, everything out. Write it, type it, all out, step 4, before you return to the text, and that's what you're checking. Did I spell it right? 2 T's or 1 T? So you know you're going to look at it, but don't look at it. You remove it. Don't look at it until you have said and written your retelling, your, what do we call this? Paraphrase. Good. All right, now look at the screen. Now look at the screen. All right, here are the 5 steps. And as I explain the 5 steps, let's do the hand signals. Okay, here we go. So the first thing you do, you've read something and you're like, oh, that is brilliant. I want to use that in my report. Okay, read. Now, whoa, what do you got to do? Remove. Good. Okay, so then what? I have to tell myself using my thinking voice what I just read. Yeah. Then what? Write it or type it. Good. Done? No. Why? Return to the text. What am I going back to the text for? To check spellings, to check numbers, to check just those little facts that I might have, I kind of like, I couldn't quite remember exactly, but I got the idea written. I got it in my own words. You want to get it in your own words, synonyms, before you return to the text. Don't look back at that text, okay? Otherwise, that's when you start stealing the author's words, and then you don't sound like you anymore. Okay, you guys, let's try this. Or actually, let's watch Mrs. Smeckles try it first, okay? Let's just pretend, I'm not reading this whole thing to you, but let's just pretend that I had read all about trees and how they grow. And look in the bottom corner there at that visual. I had learned, one thing I learned about trees was that you can tell how old a tree is because every year it has another ring. Have you ever seen a tree cut down, right? And you look, it kind of looks like a bullseye. Yeah. Okay, and so each of those rings is another year older. That's what it is. Okay, so let's just pretend I've been reading all about trees, and now all of a sudden I have to do some kind of report, and I read something that the original author wrote, and I'm like, oh, that is so good. I want to put that in my writing, in my retell, but I have to paraphrase it. I have to, it's not my idea. I want to make sure to say this was the author's idea, but first I got to put it in my own words, about the same length in my own words. Okay, so watch Mrs. Smeckens. I'm just going to take one paragraph from that article. So first I'm going to read, okay, just one paragraph, and then I'm going to do a paraphrase. Okay, so here's my paragraph. These rings can tell us how old the tree is. One light ring plus one dark ring equals 1 year of the tree's life. Okay, now I need to remove. So I take it off the screen. I stop looking at it. Now I need to say what I just read. This is where my thinking voice is going to help me. Okay, Ms. Smeckens, say what you just read. Something about trees and rings. I can't quite remember. That's not unusual. Sometimes after you read, sometimes when you were reading, your distracting voice was distracting you and you weren't really focused. So then when you removed the text and stopped looking at it, took it off the screen, then you're like, I don't know. I can't explain it. No problem. It's normal. So let's deal with it. What are you supposed to do, Miss Smeckens? I'll tell you what you do. You repeat the first 3 steps. It's normal not to understand what you read sometimes. Fine. So fix it. How do you fix it? Start over. Okay. We're going to read. I'm going to remove, and I'm going to focus this time so I can say what I read. Okay, here I go. Here's the same paragraph. Here I go. These rings can tell us how old the tree is. One light ring plus one dark ring equals 1 year of the tree's life. Got it. Remove. Now I need to explain what I just read. So now I say, well, a tree has many rings. Remember, my thinking voice is helping me. A tree has a lot of rings. It has 1 ring for every year it is old, and each year it gets a light and a dark ring. Yeah, I did it. Now I do step 4. Now I have to write it. Now I have to write down what I just said, right? Okay, a tree grows a light ring and a dark ring every year. That's how you know how old it is. Now what? Read, remove, say it, write it, return. Return and check that I have all the details correct. So here it is again. It's back up on the screen. Now, there weren't any really big words in this, and there were no numbers. There weren't even any names. So that whole checking, I don't have a lot to check right now, but let's check a few other things. Is it about the same length? And did I use my own words, synonyms? Okay, well, let's count Mrs. Smeckens' words. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, let's count the original. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. 20 to 24. Is it about the same length? Uh-huh. And let's look at how the original started. These rings can tell us a tree grows up. Did I use the author's words? Sound just like the mm-mm. Did I make it sound like mm-hmm? What are we learning? What's the skill? It's called paraphrase, and it's when you retell an idea from an author, but you have to make it about the same length so that you get all the details, but you have to use your own words, and those words are synonyms.
Here is your exit ticket for today. You are going to choose 2 paragraphs to paraphrase. You are going to follow the steps to paraphrase the text. That means you are going to read, put away, say what you read, write it down, and check the text. So, once again, we're choosing to read the text, put it away, say what you read, write down what you said, and check that your saying is right. I'm going to read aloud this text for people who need it. If you don't need it, you can pause the video now and get started paraphrasing. Here we go. Rules for presidents. Vocabulary. Requirement. What you need to do or have to achieve something. Candidate. Someone who wants to become president. Criminal record. A list of times someone has broken the law. Paragraph 1. Countries around the world elect presidents to help lead their country. The requirements to become president, however, are different depending on which country you live in. Paragraph 2. In Colombia, for example, candidates must have been born in Colombia and be older than age 60. In France, someone who wants to become president must be at least 18 years old, able to vote, and not have a criminal record. Paragraph 3. A presidential candidate in Mexico must be at least 35 before running for office and have lived in Mexico for at least 20 years. An American president must have been born in the States and lived there for at least 14 years. Also, an American president must be 35 years old. Although not all countries have a president, the ones that do have strict rules for the person who is running to become the country's leader. So, again, your exit ticket, choose 2 paragraphs, read, put away, read the text, put away the text, say what you read, write down what you said, and check the text. Remember, you need to have a text that is about the same length as what you read, and it needs to be in your own words.